Welcome back to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast, brought to you by Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and experience you need. Thanks again to Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD Podcast. Go to their website at www.violetdefense.com. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive. We actually have a Sideline Interactive video score table at our school, and it is fantastic. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo and see their tables and boards in action. You can also see what their fantastic products can do for you. Email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We also want to give a big shout out to Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Wall of Fame by Vital Signs has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, visit www.vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started on your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call us at 614-981-3589, or you can email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. Check their boards out. They are really cool additions to your school. Finally, we want to thank Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director's Toolbox segment of our podcast. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your school's athletic program. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack also gives the 95% of the players and parents who really love your program a voice and helps demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466 or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by Lifetrack. Let them help you take your athletic program from good to great. Welcome back, everyone, to a very special episode of the Educational AD Podcast. This is our 200th interview, and it's a very special one. We are going to be talking with Greg Purdum. Greg is currently an assistant football coach at Missouri Valley College, but he's a longtime high school and college athletic director, a high school coach. And for those of you that have read my book, The Athletic Director's Toolbox, you'll know that Greg gets a shout out as my key athletic director mentor. So it's a real honor and a pleasure to have a good friend on. Greg, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate the opportunity. Been looking forward to it ever since we spent some time this summer.
Yeah, those were definitely some good times. For our audience, we are recording this on September 8th, so it's going to be very timely by the time you listen to it. Also, if you pick up some strange noises in the background, we have some roof construction going on at our studio today, wouldn't you know it? So we'll just bear with that. But Greg, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to school and college, and your long path that has brought you now back to Missouri Valley.
Well, grew up in Oklahoma City, had an opportunity to come here to Missouri Valley College and play football and get an education and everything. Left here and went to a small school down in southern Missouri, and had an opportunity to get back to Oklahoma for 8 years, where I was the head assistant offensive coordinator at Enid, Oklahoma. And Coach Gibbler, my head coach, called and asked if I'd be interested in coming back and coaching the offensive line and putting in a strength program for him. And I couldn't get back up here fast enough. So I was held that position for 4 years, and he passed and chose me to succeed him. So I became the head coach, athletic director for the next 5 years. And that's where I learned probably my most valuable lesson in education in life, was the fact that nobody's bigger than the job. So after I was let go, I went down to Florida for a couple of years at a high school down at Fernandina Beach. Had a chance to get back to the Midwest, was in Dodge City for 1 season, and then took the job at Central Methodist University as a head coach, strength coach, head football coach, and left there, went back into high school for the next 17, 18 years. Retired from high school, told my wife I'd move her back home. And so retired, moved back to our forever home here in Fayette. Was fortunate enough to get back on staff at Missouri Valley with Coach Troth. He put me in charge of the JV program, which I'm all about, and coaching a position and getting to recruit. So life just doesn't get any better right now. I've lost your sound, Jake.
I am a professional podcaster. Okay, goodness gracious. As I was saying while I was on mute, that was a very quick trip through a very, very impressive career. Let's take a little bit of a deep dive. You were a very successful high school coach, and then you got the call to come back and join Coach Gibbler's staff. And then, as you mentioned, you took over for him, not just as head coach, but also as the AD. What were some of the challenges that you had to work with on a very large scale, being the athletic director at a very successful college program?
Well, I think some of the biggest things was that I started. There weren't budgets for each individual sport. I set the budgets up and getting everybody to live by budget and everything. I think another thing was the fact that which is a key, I feel, for any administrator, making sure you're hiring good people to come in as you have coaches openings, and being able to trust them and turn it over to them, not micromanage, and just kind of oversee and have discussions periodically with them, but hire good people to take over and help develop and build the athletic department.
That's where you and I first met. You took a chance on a high school and JUCO track coach from the Pacific Northwest, and we were only together there at Valley for 2 years, but those 2 years really impacted me as a coach and later on as an AD. Talk about some of the things that you think are, and now you're back at Missouri Valley again, where you played such a legacy. What are some of the special things that you see about Missouri Valley over the years?
Well, I think it's something that, I talk to a lot of recruits and a lot of parents and everything. We offer something that most places really don't, especially with the college education. We're bringing you in first and foremost to get that college education and graduate, but we're giving these guys an opportunity to participate and kind of learn in life, to be able to, what you do with opportunities when they're given to you. What you do with an opportunity is up to you, and being able to take it and run and do the best that you can, I think, is something that a lot of places, especially colleges, don't do. A lot of times you'll talk to a college coach and they'll say, well, he can't play high school football, he can't play college football. And as you know, Jake, we won an awful lot of games with ton of those guys that coaches said, well, they can't play college football. It's the guys giving them an opportunity, putting them in the right spot and allowing them to explode with that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's so true, putting kids in a position to be successful, and then you as an AD putting coaches in that same position. Great stuff. For our listeners, we were visiting with Greg Purdum, assistant football coach at Missouri Valley College. We're going to hear some more from him, but right now let's take a break and hear from our podcast sponsor, Violet Defense. Violet Defense is dedicated to protecting our world from germs by bringing the power of UV disinfection to everyday spaces. Their patented technology enables them to harness the power of the sun to incorporate ultraviolet light into products and environments like never before. Whether you're ready to implement existing products, or if you'd like to explore researching and developing a custom deployment of their technology for your school, Violet Defense has the solutions and experience you need. Go to www.violetdefense.com for more information, and thanks to Violet Defense for sponsoring the Educational AD Podcast. We're back with our interview with Greg Purdum, assistant football coach at Missouri Valley College. Greg, in our profession, we always talk about the importance of leadership and particularly mentorship. And I always ask, who are some of the mentors that you've had? Maybe family members along the way, or coaches, or people you've worked with or worked for. Who's had a big impact on your career that you can share with us now?
Well, I think my career started, matter of fact, with Coach Gibbler. Like I said, was our head coach. He was my advisor. I came up here, wanted to play football. He's the one that convinced me that I'm coming up here to get an education. Thought I wanted to get into business. He redirected me into education. But when I get down, and here I am my senior year, and they want us to have 2 teaching credentials. And I said, whoa, I guess I better find a second one. So getting into education, I think and going to college and following his guide and the way that the way Coach Gibbler guided us. And I talked to so many alum that they use the same comments and a lot of the same methods that he used on us. And when I came back, and so he was a major mentor through getting into football and education. And I left, and when I went back to Enid, Oklahoma, the guy who really taught me football and taught me how to prepare and how to work was Ron Lancaster. He was my mentor, major mentor through coaching and everything. But it was interesting because when I came back to Missouri Valley and was an assistant under Coach Gibbler, it was the opposite end of the spectrum, because Coach Lancaster is one of those guys that was highly intense, never wanted anybody sitting comfortable, always wanted things turmoil and busy and working. Then you get to Coach Gibbler, and he's run the same offense for 22 years and defense for 22 years and hadn't changed. And matter of fact, I got back and I said, Coach, I understand 23 man and 29 lateral, but what are all the colors of the blue and the white and the brown? He said, oh, those are backfield sets. I said, oh, okay, no wonder I didn't know them. I didn't need to. But he was the opposite end of the spectrum from Rod Lancaster. I can remember getting ready to load up for a JV game one day, and he's waiting on the bus after time was to leave. And he waited on 2 guys. They got on the bus late. And I looked at him, I go, Coach, how can you not get after these guys? He said, because there's 52 other guys on this bus that are doing things right that want my attention, and that's where it's going to go. So being able to take that and learn that and always remember that is allowed me to kind of mold and put the 2 packages together to allow me to kind of become my own person, realizing that, when you're the head coach, and I've talked to a lot of guys that, I just tell them, you don't understand all involved being a head coach, but being the head coach, it's not for everybody. But being able to make yourself happy, live with yourself, and making what you feel are the right decisions, because you can't keep everybody happy, is a big key being a head coach. And I think it falls into the athletic director too. I don't want to oversee I want to oversee everybody's program, but I don't want to micromanage your program. And, just making sure they're doing things right and doing the best they can, and everything's at the advantage of the institution.
No, and again, as you were talking, I just going back to, the time that we spent together. And as I said, it was only 2 years at Valley, But the rest of that staff, Mike and Kevin and Darren, we're still 25 years later. We're still great friends. We still, connect with each other, and we accomplished a little bit during that 2 year span. So very cool stuff. Once again, we're visiting with Greg Purdum, Hall of Fame football coach at Missouri Valley College, back for a second stint as an assistant. We're going to take another quick break and hear from our sponsor, Sideline Interactive. We also want to thank Sideline Interactive video score tables and boards. We actually have one of their video score tables in our gymnasium, and it is very, very cool technology. It's becoming harder and harder to fund an athletic department these days, but Sideline Interactive's indoor scoring tables and video boards can generate $10,000 or more every year while creating excitement in the gym and the ultimate game day experience for your student athletes. Go to sidelineinteractive.com or call 832-786-0302 to schedule a live web demo to see their tables and boards in action and see what these fantastic products can do for you. You can also email them at sales@sidelineinteractive.com. That's sales@sidelineinteractive.com. We're back with Greg Purdum. Greg, one of the things we try to do with the podcast is this idea of sharing best practices. So I'm going to put you on the spot. You've had a long career as a coach and an AD, both the high school and the college level. What are a couple of things that maybe you've done as an athletic director or even seen at other schools that, when you sit back and take a look at them, you go, boy, these are really great ideas. What are some best practices you can share with us?
Well, I think some of the biggest things that I did when I was an assistant before I was athletic director was if I had an idea of something and thought it was going to make our program better, that I would suggest it to the head coach. I didn't need to have the credit for getting something done. I just wanted to be able to make our program better. And I did the same thing as an athletic director. I think the biggest thing as an athletic director is to be able to support your coaches. If you can't support your coaches and defend your coaches, then you may have the wrong coach in place. But being able to support them and help them get what they need and what they want to be successful, I think is a big key, regardless of the cost. You need to be able to justify everything and support what they want. So the more support you can give them, I think the more productive they're going to be. Well, at the same time, I had to deal with a couple coaches there at Missouri Valley. You got to make sure you're doing things right. You're doing things legally. You're doing things correctly, not just for the program, but for the school. And when you've got instructions by a doctor for a certain athlete to perform with certain equipment on, a la knee brace after surgery, and you're allowing this guy not to do that, where he can possibly injure himself again, I think you're opening yourself and the institution up for liability case. And so, if people aren't going to listen and do what they're supposed to do and don't have the institution's best interest at heart, then sometimes you need to take that tough step and part ways with people. And I think, being a good administrator is something you have to be on the good side and the bad side, like I said before, and not micromanage, but just making sure they're following proper rules and regulations for the conference or the institution, so it's best suited for the student athletes.
What are some things that you see now that maybe have changed a little bit as far as the role of the athletic director compared to when you first took over at Missouri Valley, or even back when you were an AD at the high school level?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to realize that you cannot do it all. You have to be able to have people help, give some responsibilities to other people. Right now there at Missouri Valley now, we have 2 associate athletic directors, and one is in charge of all game management of all the different sports and everything when anybody plays at home. And they've really taken the pressure off of the main athletic director and allowed him to be more productive and oversee. And then he deals with the administration, where the 2 associates deal with him. And so it just makes his life that much easier. And just more pleasant as an athletic director, as you know.
Yeah, and again, with all the teams and facilities you guys have added there since you and I were there back in the '90s, very impressive. Okay.
Well, we've got 32 varsity sports, and every one of them carry a JV program. Everything's recognized by the NAI. The one thing that we do have here that's very, very strong program that is not recognized by the NAI is the rodeo team, and they've been very, very successful. We started that when I was back there before, and they've been very successful, just not recognized by the NAI. So those 32 teams, I think we got 1,500 enrollment this year, and 1,200 of them are athletes. So as I was talking to a coach the other day, scheduling a JV game, he was wanting to know if we could schedule the JV game instead of at 6 o'clock, we'd start at 4 o'clock because that's their fall break. He says, I know you all have an athletic period. And I never even thought about it, but that's exactly what it is, because there are no classes scheduled after 3 o'clock until evening classes after dinner. So, and I just assumed it was like that everywhere, and it's not. So very fortunate to be able to take advantage of an opportunity like that too.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's also in the best interest of your student athletes too. Great stuff.
Absolutely.
We are visiting with Greg Purdum, assistant football coach at Missouri Valley and longtime high school and college AD. We're going to come back, but let's take a break and hear from our podcast sponsor, Vital Signs Wall of Fame. We want to give a big shout out to our newest sponsor, Wall of Fame by Vital Signs. Wall of Fame has a mission to bring your school's legacy to life. They provide a variety of interactive touchscreen options and an extensive library of templates to make it easier than ever to recognize the athletic achievements of your students, both past and present. For ideas on how to showcase your school's diverse history and your proudest moments, visit www.vitalsignswalloffame.com. Or to learn more and get started on your own digital Wall of Fame tribute, call them at 614-981-3589 or email them at sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. That's sales@vitalsignswalloffame.com. The FIAAA here in Florida has a Vital Signs Wall of Fame system, and it is very cool. It's a great way to recognize your students, your school, and your program. So check them out. Greg, we just came out recently of, for at least for me anyway, it was great fun watching the Olympics, and we had some tremendous performances by the men's and women's teams. But we also saw, which is a very good thing, an increased discussion about the challenges that athletes are facing in the area of social and emotional health. Simone Biles certainly very candid about the challenges that she's experiencing. And so this has been a question I've been asking some of our ADs. How can an athletic director find the right balance between, or a coach as well, say an old school approach, like when you and I came up, come on, you got to be tough, you got to get back in there, and marrying that with being aware and sensitive to the challenges that a Generation Z student athlete is experiencing these days. Do you have any advice for us?
Well, to me, that's life. That's life. Having to deal with life. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When I got each time I've been fired, that's hard to take. Well, so what do? Do you sit back and cry about it, or you get back up on the horse and go? I mean, learning how to deal with the ups and downs, learning how to deal with the goods and the bads is life. And that's going to happen, and the old woe is me. I'm just not good with the old woe is me. If I'm having a bad day, or if I see one of the kids having a bad day, or a coach having a bad day, I'll just pull them off the side and say, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? Well, I'm having a bad day, they said. Well, who can fix that? There's only one person can fix that. Okay. And I tell the kids all the time, if you make a mistake, how do you make up for it? They look and they think, and I say, all you can do is just play harder and move on. Being able to be aware as an administrator, as a coach, and realize what's going on around the community, the life, it's in the news and everything, I think is important, but it affects everybody differently. Being able to be there for them and talk with them, have the time, have the open door policy, and let them bring it to you, because they're gonna see it different than you see it, and you're gonna see it different than I see it. So I think as long as we can be there, be aware of it, and be supportive when they need it, I think is the main key. But here again, only you can fix it, and it's your thought. And that's going to be, I wish I could tell you that's going to be the only time you're going to have a tough time in life, but that's not. That's just part of it growing up.
Yeah, again, you're so right. It's such an individual thing, and our job as coaches is to be there for the kids, and help them through those tough times. But
Well, and
you're absolutely right. It's
I think also that, that's the difference between a good coach and a mediocre coach. Being able to recognize your kids and know your kids and know how to help them, know how to motivate them. The term I've used for a long time is learn how to flip their switch. Some of them you got to get after, some of them you got to stroke. So it's just being able to learn your kids is going to allow you to be a lot more productive as a coach and as an administrator, whether it be your kids or your coaches.
no, right on. Very good. Once again, we're visiting with Greg Purdum from Missouri Valley College. We're going to take one more break and hear from our Toolbox sponsor, Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack, and then we're going to come back and hear about Greg Purdum's athletic director tool suggestions. Stay with us. We want to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack for sponsoring the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack are a quick, easy, and affordable way to collect comprehensive data that allows you to evaluate and improve your athletic program. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack also allows the 95% of the players and parents who really love your program a voice to help demonstrate the importance that a positive athletic experience has for them. Go to athleticsurveys.com and check out their testimonials, and then give them a call at 1-800-738-6466 or email them at info@athleticsurveys.com to get started. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Let them help you take your program from good to great. Well, Greg, again, if the people haven't figured out by now, we are very good friends, and it's always great catching up with you. But right now, I'm going to task you with sending out a brand new athletic director on their very first job. But I'm only going to let you put 3 things in their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in your athletic director's toolbox?
Well, I think anytime I get a new coach in and talk with them and everything, or if somebody asks me to write a letter of recommendation, there's 3 things I always look for and mention and talk to, and want people that are working with us and our kids to be able to be the same way. And you and I had the same conversation years ago. Hey, I'm busy with my job as football coach and athletic director. I don't have time to do your job. So I expect you to take the initiative to do the very best you can and do what needs to get done. I tell that to the coaches. If we have something to meet about, we're going to meet. If we don't, then you got things to do and you know when it needs to be done. So it's up to you to take that initiative level and get your job done. The other thing is, the second thing is to be professional. Being professional, the way you present yourself, the way you talk with kids, the way you talk with administrators, on campus, off campus, all the time. Don't ever forget the position you're in, because the way people look at you is totally different from what you see. It's just me being me, but they see you as a different person and kind of up on a pedestal. Kids will react to you and parents will react to you quicker than they will somebody down on the curb or out on the street or something, because of your position and the how can I say, the pull that you have with the kids and in your spot and everything. And then I think the one of the biggest ones is the third factor, and that's loyalty. Showing your loyalty to your coaches, showing your loyalty to your kids, to your program, to your institution, and being able to be loyal in every aspect you can and being open, upfront, and honest with them. And I think anybody that has talked with me or been around me, and I don't think you'll argue with this at all, then nobody has to worry about where they stand with Greg Purdum. And sometimes that gets me in trouble, but being loyal and being honest is a big thing. So, the three things I think for whether it be a young coach, a young administrator, or even an older one, even in our boat, is the initiative to get your job done, the professionalism all the time, and how you present yourself, and your loyalty to the people that you're working with and for.
You are absolutely right. There is no questioning, where, I am with you or you are with me as far as that loyalty. And I remember like it was yesterday having those conversations in your office or in our conference room with the other coaches. Great stuff. Greg, if one of our listeners wants to reach out and pick your brain a little bit, and I encourage you to do so. Remember, this is my athletic director mentor we're talking to. How can they get in touch with you?
They can email me at purdums, Purdums, at moval.edu. My cell is 660-537-2510. My wife gets on me all the time. Why do I answer all the phone numbers that I don't recognize? And I said, because it could be a recruit, it could be a parent. There's just no telling. So anytime anybody has any questions, you can email me, you can call me on my cell. And if I don't, because I don't carry it with me all the time, if I don't have it, I'll call you back.
Okay. Greg Purdum, Missouri Valley College, thanks so much for being on the program today, and all the best for you and the Vikings for the rest of the season.
I appreciate the opportunity, and we'll take all the luck we can get. Thank you.
Okay. For our listeners, thanks as always for tuning in. Remember, the Zoom recordings of these interviews are uploaded to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks for listening today. Come back again next time for another episode of the Educational AD.